Hey, it's Clay at claytrader.com. This is my top 10 stocks as we head into Thursday, October 5th. This will be a technical analysis breakdown. So if you're someone that uses charts within your trading, or maybe you're just interested in learning more about charts and how they can be used as a tool to help make good decisions as a trader, this would be a video for you. A couple of quick clarifications. First off, the candlestick that you see right there will still be moving around. That's because the market's still open for a small amount of time. But I like to do these videos when the market is still open because sometimes we can capture some really interesting late day price movement. And second, I'll be using the 30-minute time frame, meaning each one of these candlesticks here represents 30 minutes worth of time. So stock number one here, TSLA Tesla. Very, very impressive move. For those of you that have been watching the past videos, been talking about how the price had essentially been trapped in this sideways channel, but trapped no more. The price came up here very nicely, not only broke the top part of the channel, but then has also now broken above the pink line right there, which on my chart represents the very well-known, the very famous 200-period moving average. So a very, very strong day in Tesla. Again, not necessarily because it was such a green day, but just from a technical standpoint, the amount of resistances that it broke, good, solid day. So I'm going to go ahead and do some house cleaning, get rid of all these lines as they've served their purpose for now. As far as new near-term levels of support are concerned, nothing fancy here, just a basic rule in charting which states when levels of resistance are broken and closed above, you want to see those levels then act as support, and that's played out here perfectly. So as I mentioned, that pink line was a resistance, but you can see once the price got above it, acted as support, acted as support, acted as support. So moving forward, if there is any sort of pullback, keep an eye on that pink line there as that near-term level of support. In terms of levels of resistance, got to squeeze things down here a little bit, which is a good problem to have because it's been quite a while since the price has been up around this area of the chart. But next key level of resistance now to keep an eye on very closely, right up there at 262.50. So 262.50, next key battleground there, which is that gap close location from way back here. So that'll be the next price target area, and then potential battleground that could play out. But like I said, anyway, look at it. Very nice day here for Tesla. Next one, VVOS. Overall, a pretty crazy day when all things considered, but one of these where there's still a chance here where maybe this pullback is just temporary. And I say that because the price is still nicely above both of the key moving averages down here. The pink line, which I just talked about, that 200-period moving average, and then the purple line being the 50-period moving average. So perhaps one way you could go about this if you consider yourself a pullback player, I mean, do you just wait until the price goes down there and see if you can get some sort of bounce? Of course, there are no guarantees, so I'm not saying that it will bounce, but it's at least a rational thought process to have. And from a risk-reward scenario, assuming, of course, you're going to manage risk, you could structure yourself a nice risk versus reward situation. But if you're somebody that likes to play breakouts, then the level here that you got to think quite a few people are probably watching is that trend line right there. Again, I think it's reasonable to assume that quite a few people are keeping an eye on that level right there. So like I just talked about, no guarantees, but is it plausible? Is it valid that if the price comes up here and breaks through that level, that even if you want to just call it a self-fulfilling prophecy, that break in of itself creates additional buying pressure? That is certainly a valid concept to keep an eye on. So if you like penny stocks and if you like these sorts of situations where you are getting a good respectable amount of volume, keep an eye on it. Next one here, ticker symbol PLTR. Very nice day. Kind of a crazy day when you stop and think about the fact that the price gapped up, ran all the way up here, and then had a very nasty, basically hour where it just dropped and dropped and dropped and dropped. But the good news here is it did respect that pink line, which you know is that 200-period moving average. So a classic example of that area right there behaving as support. And then the craziness follows through with the rest of the day basically grinded upwards and is now almost right back at these highs where it was. So one of those situations where if you get motion sick, you're probably throwing up all over the place because this was quite the wild ride today. But that does lead it to, I would argue, a pretty well-defined area of resistance, which is just those highs where it did get rejected from today, right up there at 1585. So keep a close eye on 1585. And then, as already alluded to, as far as key levels of support, keep an eye on the 200-period moving average down there. Next one here, ticker symbol VINO. No doubt about it, a very, very ugly looking chart, but you longer time viewers, you know what I'll say next, but there can be opportunity in the ugly. But there's no doubt about it. Price gapped up right here. Price then ran all the way up there. And then after that, just pure death as it's pulled back and back and back. But notice where the price is currently at. Well, it happens to be right there slightly above that purple line there, 50-period moving average. Does that guarantee anything? No. But does it make it a plausible question to throw out there? Hey, maybe just maybe this pullback is done. Maybe just maybe there could be some sort of upwards bounce. To be fair, Maybe not. Maybe this thing just keeps bleeding, which is why, again, you better manage risk. You don't want to turn into a bag holder. But that is a two-sided coin because, well, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe this thing all of a sudden gets a bounce. So you got to understand that from a risk-reward scenario, you could have yourself a nice situation. Now, maybe you don't like to play these sorts of situations at all, but for those of you that do like to try to find the opportunity in the ugly, then I'd certainly keep an eye on it. Next one here, AMC. Very, very impressive. Really just, I mean, overall the day was fine. Started off rough, came down here to the bottom part of this channel at 780 so you longer time viewers, you know that I've been talking about that level. Did find support, worked its way back up. But then what stole the show, so there must have been news or something out, because that 30-minute session right there, you can see massive volume bar, very nice green candle, and now it's consolidating out, which is in the very near term has formed, and I'm going to draw this very crudely just to illustrate the point, but a nice little bull pennant pattern. So big move up is actually slightly above the upper part of the channel here at $8.35. So in my mind, the question becomes, okay, is this bull pennant that has formed slightly above the sideways channel, is this the start of something even bigger to the upside? Definitely, an interesting situation because of not only the bounce off of 780, but then you got the big surge right there. So a lot of interesting dynamics going on here, and that's what a watch list is all about: finding interesting situations and not rushing out and randomly buying stuff, but watching it. So if you agree with me that all these different dynamics is pretty interesting, then yeah, definitely get it on your watch list. Real quick, want to take a break and personally invite you to get signed up for this free live online webinar that I'm offering here in a very short amount of time. So if you've been enjoying what you've seen and you want to learn more about this tool, how it can and should be used to build consistency and manage risk, then definitely get signed up for the free live class. If you're watching on YouTube, there's a link down in the description box, or if you're watching at my site, there's an area right there on the webpage you can click to get signed up. So like I said, if you've been enjoying, then definitely get signed up for the free live class. Next one here, RIVN, and in some ways, you missed the move, but I promise there's a logic behind this. But the move here was very straightforward. That purple line 50-period moving average was a level of support, but then classic example of that support behaving as resistance, and then resistance a whole bunch of times here. But now you can see that the price is actually broken up through there, which now opens up the door to ask a very exciting question. That question being, is this the start of something even bigger? Now think about that question. You don't get to ask that question if nothing worthwhile happens. A lot of stocks, you never ask that question because nothing worthwhile ever happens. So it doesn't make any logical sense to say, oh, wow, is this the start of something bigger? Because, well, I mean, nothing's happened. But in this situation, something has happened. You have gotten the breakout. So yes, you've missed the opportunity to buy that breakout. But if this is indeed the start of something bigger, and this movement is just going to keep grinding and grinding higher, then this could just be the start of a much bigger opportunity. So if you like these sort of scenarios where you do get to ask that question, then certainly keep an eye here on RIVN. Next one here, NVOS. Nice mover here as it's now pulling back a little bit. So yes, in the very near term, there's no doubt about it, there has been this downwards channel here that has formed. So depending on your perspective, I understand if you're some sort of day trader, flipper, scalper, and you bought right there and your plan was to buy and sell within 7 minutes, and then yes, from that standpoint, the chart's looking kind of rough. But assuming you do care about the bigger picture point of view, then yes, you're going to acknowledge, well, yeah, yes, Clay, that is true. There has been this downwards channel. But you would also say, but what was happening before this downwards channel? Well, you had this big old move up like that, which is giving you a bull flag pattern. So yes, it has pulled back. It is pulling back right now. But within the grand scheme of things, it's just, as of now, a minor little pullback within a much bigger move. So if you like to play penny stocks, you like to play these situations where you get a big move, and then you start to get a pullback where you can buy a pullback, structure a little bit better risk-reward scenario, then definitely keep an eye on this one. Next one here, NKLA, and just I'm in an interesting situation. I don't want to say totally shocking because, and I didn't plan this out, but that 200-period moving average pink line, which you've heard me talk about time and time again. But I mean, this is why. Check it out. If you were to picture this as a wave and then the price as a surfer, look how that surfer is basically surfing right on top of that wave. So just a really interesting and classic example of how that level can tend to act as support. So moving forward in the very near term, watch that pink line there as support. In the event that level does not quite hold up, then the next key level of support you'd want to watch is down there at $1.33. In terms of areas of resistance, main level to watch very closely right now, going to be all about that purple line there, 50-period moving average. You can see that was a support, but after the price dropped below it a couple days ago, it acted as resistance right there. Never hit it this morning, but got, relatively close, acted as resistance. So if that move does continue up, then all eyes on that 50-period moving average as that main battleground point. Next one here, AMD. Overall, very, very nice day. Had started to drift downwards, but today recovered very nicely. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of these levels as they serve their purpose for now. But maybe you know right where I'm headed because, and this should make more sense to those of you that have watched past videos, but if you did, hopefully you remember me talking about that area of resistance. And classic, the power of charts. Look right where the price happened to get rejected. Look where it's struggling right there at that red line. So I'll turn that into a quick plug. Go get signed up for that free class. Charts are a very valuable tool to have in your arsenal. But that's really the key dynamic here is all eyes going to be right up there at 104.40. It's rejected the price before. Once again, is presenting a problem. Does that mean that the price can never get above there? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it makes sense why the price is struggling there. And apparently moving forward, there are still sellers that are hanging out at that location. So keep an eye on that. Probably some shorts up around there. So it's very valid to think, if there are shorts in it, they probably have their stop loss somewhere up above these highs. So if you do get the break, does that trigger those stop losses out, which creates more buying pressure? It definitely creates a very interesting scenario. So keep an eye on these dynamics, and we'll see how things continue to play out moving forward. Next one here, ticker symbol TQQQ, which is an ETF that measures the NASDAQ. So if you believe the NASDAQ market is going to go up, this one will also go up. And that's why this one had a very, very nice day today. So has started to try to recover back around. Definitely still a lot of work that needs to be done. But all bigger moves have to start somewhere. And this was definitely a good start. What I want to get, let's make sure I'm not missing anything. Yes, I am going to use that. I'm going to use the bottom of that to use, that was the right choice to use that. All right, there we go. So this trend line here is one that I think is going to play a role here over the next couple of days. So that's where it's coming from, using these points right there. But to me, that's going to be a very, very important resistance level. With all that being said, even if the price breaks, don't get too excited because not that far above, you have the 200 period moving average, which could definitely serve as kind of a rain on the parade of any sort of break of that trend line. So two main levels that I think a lot of people will be watching. Both these stand out pretty well. Again, going to be initially that resistance trend line right there, and then the 200 period moving average in terms of levels of support. Ideally speaking, in terms of, what would make this chart look the absolute strongest, if the price can hold up there above that area at 35.10, that would be fantastic. But more so from a bigger picture standpoint, the level that carries a whole lot more importance down there at 33.60, which at this point isn't really relevant because the price isn't anywhere close. But with the way the market's been moving past couple of days, who knows? Does that level come into play, within the first 10 minutes tomorrow? I guess you never know when in these sorts of markets. But overall, keep an eye on that trend line, keep an eye on that 200 period moving average. And if the price can get above both of those, then that'd be a very good sign for the bull's strength. So that wraps up the top 10 list. Again, if you like what you saw here, then I want you to get signed up for that class. It'll be very soon, Thursday, October 5th at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So I hope to see you there. As far as these top 10 videos are concerned, please, if you enjoy these, if you want me to continue to put in the time and effort to get these lists out to you, do two things for me. Hit the like button, leave a comment, say hi, tell me what you're trading tomorrow. But those two things really do help out the videos. They communicate to me that you're enjoying, and that just, I thank you in advance for that because I'm always looking to, spend my time wisely. So get signed up for that free class, hit that like button, leave a comment down below. Thanks for watching.